Okay, I have an anonymous question here. And this is actually written for Chris. How do you explain yourself about your address change from District 25 to District 28? You moved out of district today, and why are you trying to eliminate Alan Kellett? Because your injunction prevents Alan from showing up tonight.
Love the So I'm not sure what they're talking about me moving today. I've been living at 8511 Augusta Road for 2 months now. So I live in the brick house there beside Huss Power Equipment. That's where I've been for weeks and weeks. I've been there since I retired. I guess the first weekend in March probably was when I moved there. So I've been there for plenty of time. My injunction with Mr. Kellett is he does not live in District 28. And so quite simply, my concern is if you're going to put an address down that is not your address in order to run, then what are you going to do when you get to Columbia? And so, yes, I did file a protest. That's a public protest. I have no problem with that protest. I take credit for that protest. I protested his eligibility. And he does not live in District 28. He lives in District 25. And so I have a problem with that.
I'm going to follow up that and say, is the address that you put on the application when you filed the address that you told us you live at tonight?
8511.
Okay, just clarifying.
It's the address on my driver's license.
You don't need that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So this is news to me. I did not hear of any injunction or any protest from Kellett. I have heard rumors. I have a lot of people reach out to me because many of you I've already met. I started months ago talking to you all, and of course I've heard things about Mr. Huff here as well. And I scratched my head on it too because he lives, or he did live 2 months ago, as you say, in Wendell Jones's district across from the church in the parsonage. And 2 months ago, he made a decision to move to 28 to run. We have a Democratic elected representative in Wendell Jones in the district that he resided in. I don't know how many years he was pastor. Why did he challenge a Democrat setting in that district, Wendell Jones? We need to get him out. But he decided to take the easy way to move down 2 months ago for Ashley's seat, you know.
1 minute.
I didn't decide to take the easy way. I moved because I retired from the church. I announced my retirement on the second week of January to the chairman of deacons, chairman of personnel, and chairman of finance as a result of a change in our life. As a result of which we were moving to the brick house where my grandfather who died in May had left to me. The brick house at 8511 Augusta Road, the house that I've owned since 2011. You can go back and look at the tax records. I've been paying for it since then. That's the house I was always going to retire to. And so when I retired, that's where we were going. I've always been in that district. There's no easy way. There had nothing to do with it. On January 30th, Miss Trantham was on the phone with me and told me that I needed to run, and if I would do so, she would endorse me. That's the day that things started rolling and this got started. I had absolutely no inclination that I was going to run until January the 30th.
Angie, can I say something about that? About what you just said, because I know what happened. Chris, sir. Yeah, that's right. Right here. I was there at when Chris lives. Are we on? You're on. You're live. I was there when Chris lives. Ashley was also there. Ashley said she called him. He didn't want to. It wasn't that Chris jumped into it. I'm sorry. He didn't jump into it. He was very apprehensive, weren't you, Chris? He held back. It took him a few days to think about it. Ashley was actually inspired. She felt like, okay. And so,
We're doing a debate.
thank you.
And I just want to share that I've lived in the district for 25 years, have never moved and lived in the same house in the same neighborhood. So there's no moving around for me.
Okay, I'm Rory, and we've heard a lot from all of these fine folks tonight, and thank you very much for coming out and giving us a chance to hear you all. But what I really want to know is how many of you have actual state legislative experience?
While I haven't held a public office, I have been working in the State House since 2019 and have worked with a coalition across the state made up of nonprofits and churches and individuals. Had the luxury to work with legislators to get 2 House bills filed. We've worked in the Senate on 2 different bills, and we're able to get it moved to the floor. And the reason, the issue that I worked on, if it was a referendum issue, it would be solved today. But because of big lobby PACs and very, very wealthy industries, that legislation hasn't happened, and they're preying on our citizens. So yes, I've been at the State House. I've worked with legislators, and I understand the process.
Rory, I don't have any direct state legislator experience. I was a Canebrake Fire Commissioner. I've worked on county planning boards. I'm a volunteer board member for the South Carolina Agritourism Statewide Board. So behind the scenes of doing a lot of stuff with state legislators, but to answer your question, direct experience, I don't.
So I have 0. I'm 35 years old. I actually now qualify to run for president. So that's down the road right now. But and honestly, zero as to answer your question. I have 0 state. I mean, I'm trying to get there, and the only way you can get there is to be elected. And I want to represent District 28 the best way I can. And I have heard Ms. Carey. She has had active involvement with her pushing, the predatory, yeah. So she has had active of lobbying that bill inside the State House. I think she's got a supporter here as well. And as I was saying, I want to be your representative, primarily because I'm not a farmer. I've not been on the fire department and haven't pushed legislation, but I know how. Thank you.
I don't have state legislative experience. I have real-world administrative experience since I started in business. I ran a family business first. Then when I was getting my master's degree up in Raleigh, I worked nights at UPS while we were starting our family, having 2 kids. I was a supervisor for UPS on the midnight shift, did administration there. And then ever since I went into church ministry, I've been an administrator. Even when I was associate pastor in Charlotte for 3 years, I was the administrator of the church because of my business administration background. And so I don't have any state legislative experience, to give you a simple answer, but I have administrative experience and budget experience in many different in many different areas in my life.
Thank you. Okay. Anonymous question. Anonymous question. And this is another packed question too. What do you know about bills H 4927 and S 975 regarding medical freedom and a South Carolina health czar? Do you agree or do you oppose? 2 minutes.
I'm starting. This one, I got the question about the medical czar. I went and read the bill, and I've also read a lot of what's been said in the public about this. But I want to share an anecdote with you because when I read the bill and read the rhetoric that's out there, I went to a family that has a child that actually falls and gets care from 2 different agencies. They needed help, and because of the bureaucracy and the separation of these departments, that child's care was delayed 6 to 8 months. And that family had to fight that bureaucracy. And I believe that that is inefficient and it doesn't serve our population well. And by doing and allowing those agencies to directly be responsible to the governor of our state is a great way to make those agencies work together for you and our citizens.
You know, Carrie, that's why I want to run for representative, because there's too many state agencies, and there's too many state agencies that don't talk to one another. And I want to make sure that every single person that I represent has my phone number, and I'm accessible, and I will work to put those pieces together. But as far as the question, both these bills are terrible, to be quite honest. 4927, astonishing to me that 17 Republicans voted against it. Astonishing. Only 17 out of all of our House members. You know why? Because they didn't read it. They didn't read it. Nobody learned from Obamacare, did they? The problem is that too many times our legislators follow the narrative rather than actually do the homework. In my big boy job, as I call it, I do a lot of engineering, looking at papers, looking at diagrams, actually having to dig into it and say, is this going to work? S975, it's a good step. It's a good step, but it's not perfect by any means. And if I was chosen by you folks to represent you, I would work with the Senate and I would work with the House to do amendments to even 975 that further protects us. Because 975 is a good start, but it doesn't get there. We have to get there. We can't settle for good enough.
So to answer your questions, I'm more of a physical responsibility guy. Rather pay 6 committee chairs to hold DSS and to hold mental health. I'd rather pay one chairman over all DHEC. And I know they're separating the environmental from the health coming up. I'm also I believe wholeheartedly that there should be only one executive committee member, and that's the governor of the state. He should be the only one in any kind of emergency situations that should call up the guard. I don't know anywhere in the world that has 2 people that can do that. Right. I also believe that needs to be repealed. I don't feel like a czar, as people call it, really to be the next health secretary, should have that amount of power over the governor. The governor is our sole representative for executive committee branch, and he should be the one that commandeers sheriffs. He should be the one that does anything like that, regardless to any kind of national or state emergency. Hurricanes, floods. But I am for saving money for the taxpayers by having one secretary for 6 different departments, as Carrie suggests. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was well stated. The governor already had many of the authorities that were claimed that we needed when they put these bills together. The governor had those abilities, and so I think we messed up. The bills messed up when they took power or took that authority away from him and gave it to another level of bureaucracy there in this position because of this bill. But we did not need that. I believe that the governor is held accountable by the people, and therefore the governor is the one who should be going on, should be held to the line when it comes to executing that type of response and that level of response. That's the level of person in government that we need to be making those kinds of decisions. We don't need an appointed bureaucrat that's been put in position to do that as well. As far as streamlining, we all know, I think we've talked about the budget. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be streamlined, man. We need to streamline a lot of things. We need to get more efficient in a lot of areas, and that'll save us a lot of budget money, and that'll help us avoid a lot of waste. So streamlining is fine, but when streamlining starts to take authority away from the people that have been voted into place to have those authorities, now we got a problem.